About 3.5 hours straight north of the Big Smoke, the French River cuts its way through the Canadian Shield for 110 kilometers, flowing from Lake Nipissing to Georgian Bay. With endless islands, narrow channels, steep-walled gorges, and some broad open spaces, it is an amazing place for some pleasure boating. But a couple hundred years ago, it was much more than that.
For hundreds of years, this was the highway, connecting Lake Nipissing to Georgian Bay, and more importantly, Montreal to Lake Superior. The French River was a major transportation route for the indigenous peoples, loggers, and fur traders, really serving to build up what we now know as Canada.
When you think about it, boating has been an integral part of this country's culture and history for centuries. So I, like those explorers of eras past, am going out to discover the river. Only unlike them, I'm doing it on an FX Cruiser SVHO, courtesy of our friends at Yamaha. And while I do that, let's have Don Brown from the French River Visitor Center fill us in on the vital role the river played in the formation of this great country.
The French River has been the center of a continent-wide trade network and has acted as an important trade and travel route for Indigenous people, Europeans, and Canadian fur traders. The relationship created between these cultures helped to define the character of Canada. On an average trip, voyageurs in large 10 to 12-man canoes would carry upwards of 100 pounds of trade goods each. They mostly traded with Indigenous people for their furs and pelts in exchange for some of the European manufactured goods like blankets, beads, nesting pots, and tools such as metal axes and knives. But after the fur trade died out as the major industry, logging became the next major economic activity in the area. So instead of roads, the waterways of the French River, along with its tributaries, were used to transport these felled trees to the lumber mills and to the railheads. So when the logging area was no longer profitable, many in the community turned to commercial fishing instead. So then once the rail lines connecting Sudbury and Toronto were completed, the businesses of the area turned to tourism as it remains today.
I also learned that 45,000 years ago, long before those people ever got together, the river was carved out of the Canadian Shield by runoff from receding glaciers. And, fun fact, back then, it actually flowed the other way. That flowing water created the incredibly beautiful rock walls along the river, one of which you can get a real good look at from the snowmobile bridge right by the visitor center. But a much better way is from down below.
This is such an amazing spot for a PWC. It feels like around every river bend there's a new adventure, and as long as you know where the waterfalls, rocks, and rapids are, those will all be good adventures. But the French is also world-renowned for its fishing. And I've been on this show for almost 2 seasons now, and I still have not caught a fish on camera. Is that because of my incompetence? The short answer, yes. The long answer, yes. So I'm gonna pull out, head to the East Basin of the French, to Crane's Lochaven Lodge, where I am almost guaranteed to pull something out of this French River.
The French runs about 65 miles east to west, but with all those rapids and rocks, that means even on a wave runner, I'm not going to be able to run the whole thing. So I loaded back into my F250 and headed east about half an hour to Wolseley Bay in the East Basin of the French. Lochaven Lodge is one of many great family-owned fish camps on the French, but it's one of only a few that are only accessible by boat. The trouble with boating in new places is that even with charts and navionics, it can be difficult to know where those no-go spots are. Luckily, my host Ed Crane has been on these waters since he was a kid. And while this used to be the highway for fur traders and voyageurs, for Ed, it still is.
This is my office.
Mine too, actually.
To me, I'm on the 401 right now.
Yeah.
If I was living in Mississauga, this is my 401.
This is your commute.
This is considered the Eastern Basin.
Okay.
Because really the French River, it's known to have Upper French and Lower French.
Okay.
It's 65 miles long, almost 20-mile stretches.
Yep.
The way it branches, and they're all broken up by rapids. Wolseley Bay is the only access to the Eastern Basin. Fishing is incredible. You can't beat it. I believe it's the best part. I've traveled across the country, and, you know, mountains are beautiful, but they're hard to go up and down.
True.
We've got monster muskies, smallmouth like crazy.
Ever have anybody that comes up that just can't catch a fish or doesn't?
No.
No. Everybody's. That's good.
Unless they don't fish. And that happens.
Okay. Because I'm a pretty lousy fisherman, and I have not yet caught a fish on camera.
I think I can fix that.
All right, I appreciate that.
This is called Commanda Island. It's 2,400 acres. We own 10 acres. The rest is all park.
So there's nobody else on the island?
No, there's 5 sets of rapids that surround it.
Yep.
The water never freezes around it. You can't get here in the winter.
You got no neighbors?
Nope.
Just us.
Welcome to Lochaven. It was built in 1922 by the Canadian Pacific Railroad as an outpost camp for their executive customers. The 469 was built. They'd take the train to what was yesterday's resort and then canoe 22 miles upstream to get here.
And that used to be the only way in?
That was it.
This is incredible. You guys have your own private slice of heaven back
Little
here.
city, man.
Stick around. Later in the show, we're back for a full day at Lochaven Lodge on the French River to see if I can finally hook a fish on camera.
Just in case we don't have enough for lunch. One of the best ways to get your family out on the water without breaking the bank is a deck boat. And Starcraft's SVX line has been ultra popular for exactly that reason. This is the 2021 SVX 190 DC OB. What they've done is taken their super crowd-pleasing 191 with a side console and offered it with dual bucket seats, a nice big windshield, and outboard power. Perfect for getting the most out of our short boating seasons. The great thing about this SVX 190 is it gives you everything you absolutely need standard and lets you take anything else you'd want as options. Standard on this boat are a pair of nice big bolstered bucket seats tucked under this great big windshield that runs the full beam. You also get stainless grab rails, a canvas bimini, AM/FM Bluetooth radio, and a telescoping ladder on both the stern and the bow so you can pull up at the sandbar, beach the bow, and swim right off the back. Also standard, and a feature I really like, is this EVA soft touch foam on the bow and the stern. Makes a great spot to climb back on board, dry off without having to worry about slipping, soaking everybody else in the boat, and it's not gonna burn your feet in the sun. And when it comes to options, this is a boat you can trick out with plenty of stuff, but still stick to your budget. Anchor package, the ski pylon, you can get bow filler cushions and a snack table. Even the sport package, which gives you a nice sportier look, or the fishing package, where you'll get 2 pedestal seats and a live well.
The 18-foot, 11-inch long SVX 190 DC has a 102-inch beam and is rated for a crazy 12 people. Up front, we find plenty of seating with big loungers on either side of the bow walkthrough and storage underneath both, as well as the step up to the nose. The deep, self-draining, family-friendly cockpit features an L-shaped bench that wraps around from the passenger seat to the starboard side stern walkthrough, with more storage under each cushion. It's tough to get excited about hinges, but I like how these pop out and still hinge up to get around that backrest. Through the aft walkthrough, it's easy to access a pair of sizable swim platforms or the outboard engine. Standard power is a 115, but our test model came with the max-rated 150-horse Yamaha 4-stroke. The passenger side console features a sink basin and a good-sized glove box with cup holders just below. And in the console is an easy-access storage compartment just above the massive ski locker built into the floor. The captain's side console has a handy cell phone pocket just below the helm, which features a typical gauge cluster, audio controls and light-up rocker switches, plus room to mount electronics on the left side, and EVA foam throughout for a nice stylish look.
The great thing about a deck boat is you get a lot of the same advantages that you would in a pontoon. You can ram this thing full of a ton of people, plenty of places to sit and hang out. You get a nice smooth ride, but you get a little more performance and slightly better looks. But what's great is the dihedral V hull design. What that means is there's a nice big V right down the center that's gonna slice through waves, but then you get the side sponsons that add a little bit of cushioning by trapping air, which makes for a smooth ride like you'd see on a pontoon, but a little more performance that you might not get on a party barge. I'm really impressed with the way this SVX 190 drives. I expected the ride comfort, and it's there. It's a deck boat, but the performance is really a nice surprise. And a good chunk of that has to do with the lifting pad on the back of the hull. And what that does is gets it right up on plane nice and quickly, works wonders for your fuel economy. You can easily run this little 19-footer with a 115, a really nice thing for the bank account.
With that 150, my time to plane was about 4 seconds, and I went from 0 to 30 miles per hour in just under 7 seconds. My top speed was a quite respectable 46 miles per hour, but a better cruising speed was anywhere from 25 to 30 miles per hour.
If you're in the market for your family's first fiberglass boat, you might want to give this SVX 190 DC OB a good hard look. If you're a trailer boater who likes to mix business with pleasure when it comes to your truck, I've got something you might want to see. This is the all-new F250 Super Duty with the Tremor package from Ford. And pulling us under this hood is a brand new 7.3-liter V8 gas engine.
For anyone who uses their truck for more than just work, towing a boat, fishing, camping, even off-roading, this is a truck built for you. The Tremor package, which as of 2020 you can find on the F250 and F350, is aimed to give you the kind of hardware and the tech to handle any kind of terrain you can think of. Upgraded suspension, off-road running boards, which are great for steep launch ramps, the biggest tires you'll find on a heavy-duty pickup with these 35-inch all-terrain wheels. On the tech side, trail control and rock crawl mode, plus best-in-class water fording at 33 inches. Which comes in quite handy at some shallower launches.
With those massive tires and that beefy suspension, this is a huge truck. The mirrors, the crew cab, the storage, even the Ford emblem on the grill is the size of my head. And to pull it all, we need a huge engine. This 7.3-liter V8 gas engine with an automatic 10-speed transmission is all new for 2020. It's the biggest and most powerful gas engine that's ever been put in a Super Duty, cranking out 430 horsepower and 475 pounds-feet of torque.
With a payload of over 3,300 pounds and rated for up to 15,000 pounds of towing, this 5,000-pound Robalo was nothing for this big block gasser, barely breaking a sweat at under 2,000 RPMs. I had to turn around a couple times to see that we were still hauling a boat. The transmission was incredibly smooth the whole way, and the torque curve was about as flat as can be. This thing could clearly handle a much bigger load.
Now, if you're towing a 15,000-pound boat on a regular basis, then the 6.7-liter diesel is probably the engine for you. More power, crazy torque, and better fuel economy when you're towing or at low speeds. But if you're not hauling a huge boat all the time, this 7.3-liter gasser is a pretty great engine. It's lighter, it's much simpler, much less maintenance, and it's a heck of a lot cheaper than the 6.7-liter diesel, which is a $10,000 upgrade. So even if you're getting better mileage, you can buy a heck of a lot of gas for $10,000. Although if mileage is your concern, you're probably not looking at a heavy-duty truck. And just listen to that highway noise. It's so quiet with the gas engine. None of that diesel noise. None of the smell either.
With a 34-gallon or 128-liter gas tank, this is a thirsty engine. According to our onboard trip computer, we averaged a little more than 21 liters per 100 kilometer over more than 2,000 total kilometers with the truck, which was almost all done with the trailer in tow. With a smaller Wave Runner trailer, that improved slightly, and without a load, we were up to about 14 miles per gallon, mostly highway driving.
If you are doing a lot of trailering, I gotta say the tech in these things is pretty cool. The Pro Trailer Backup Assist system that's been on Ford's trucks for a while is now on the Super Duties. I've been driving around this little Wave Runner trailer for a few days now, and it's so easy to jackknife a small trailer, especially with a big truck like this. But not so with the Pro Trailer Backup Assist system, because it won't let you jackknife this trailer. And the same system is also available now with a gooseneck trailer or a fifth wheel.
A great feature for launching on a slippery ramp is the Tremor's locking rear differential. With electronic shift-on-the-fly engagement, you're on the ramp in four-wheel drive and back up and into two-wheel just like that. And with a truck this big, it's hard to downplay the significance of the 360-degree camera, part of Ford's ultimate trailer tow camera system, plus blind spot monitoring that extends to cover the length of the trailer. For such an intense-looking truck, it really is amazing how easy it is for any trailer boater to hop up in the driver's seat and haul with this F250 Super Duty. And with the colossal 7.3-liter V8 gas engine, it could be the perfect heavy-duty pickup for you and your boat. The The French River runs more than 65 miles, or 100 kilometers, from Lake Nipissing to Georgian Bay. Rapids and waterfalls break it up into 3 main sections, but they also make it a boater's paradise. And that's helped by the Ontario Provincial Parkland and the First Nations Reserve that leave the vast majority of its shoreline just as Mother Nature left it. Smack in the middle of the Eastern Basin is a little slice of quintessential Canadian boating and fishing heaven where we find ourselves this week.
We're at Crane's Lochaven Wilderness Lodge. It was built in 1922. We're on Commanda Island. It's a 4-square-mile island. We're built on 10 acres of that. We're considered the eastern basin of the French River. 18 miles. There's over 300 miles of shoreline. There's pockets as deep as 200, 300 feet. There's other pockets that are 10, 20 feet. Very diverse, multiple fish. We have people coming up that have been coming for years, generations. They bring their grandkids. A lot of friends, a lot of family.
The fishing, the unique landscape, and the incredible tranquility has kept people coming to the French for years now, and to Lochaven since long before Sue and her husband Ed bought the lodge from her in-laws almost 20 years ago. We always seem to be driving the shiniest and newest boats, but fast forward a decade or two and it's what's still floating that's really important. And that's what you see at a place like this, where these boats are put through the ringer day in and day out.
My old little boat there, yeah, so my grandpa gave that to me a couple years ago. It was just sitting in his garage, and I think it's an 85, the boat, and the motor is like from the 70s. It's a 55 Nissan 2-stroke. Like, she's old, but she's brand new. Gets me here pretty quick in the morning. I've been a guide here at Crane's Lochaven for about 10 years now. I've been fishing quite a few spots, and this is a pretty special place here. You got the opportunity to catch anything here. That's why I love it. It's what keeps me coming back.
At Lochaven, the dock is filled with a fleet of baby blue tinners with tried and tested Yamaha 4-strokes for guests to take out and explore on their own. But if you're going with the guide, you're taking a nice and comfortable pontoon. First thing in the morning, Josh and the other guides show up, fill the boats with gas, load up with gear and snacks, and head out in search of lunch on the river. I came here in hopes of catching a fish on camera, and lucky for me, my guide has all but guaranteed I'll pull something out of this river. It's the man in charge around here, Ed Crane. He's so confident we'll catch lunch, all we're bringing with us is some oil and a frying pan.
Guided trips are all in pontoons. They're just a great fishing platform. I can carry more people. As a guide with the smaller boats, I can only take 2 people.
Yeah.
And these I can take up to 6. They haul groceries, lumber, fuel, whatever I need.
We putted around to the backside of Commanda Island. I can clearly see why this is Ed's happy place.
This is the backyard.
Beautiful. You're not worried about rocks or anything like that?
I probably touched most of them.
You found out the hard way on some of them?
After beaching the tune above the first set of the rainy rapids, I tossed in a line. Our first spot of the day, and I've got a good feeling about it.
Ed said he had guests that pulled 50 bass out of these rapids yesterday, so if I can't find my lunch in here, I got bigger problems.
Could take a lifetime.
And Murphy's luck, not even a nibble.
Well, we're not having a ton of luck here at the Rainy Rapids, so why don't we move to another spot? Plenty of fishing spots out here on the French. We'll get one.
This is a popular spot for deer to cross, both ways.
Okay. What other wildlife do you guys get out here?
We get moose, deer, bear, wolves, beavers, otters, fishers, martins.
Pig?
Pigs. He's an import. That would be Griffin. He's the most famous wildlife we have now.
No kidding.
Yeah.
The further up the river we go, the more beautiful it gets. The quintessential postcard of the Canadian Shield. And I had much better luck.
Finally! Let's eat. Nothing like a traditional French River shore lunch, courtesy Chef Ed.
With a belly full of fresh-caught lunch, we swung back by the lodge and picked up a couple of friends from camp. Gracie, Ed's daughter, and Carly, who both work at the lodge, and both are self-proclaimed river rats who've been on the French their whole lives.
Your parents grew up here, you're growing up here, you're a river rat.
You grew up here and you know how to get 5 fingers.
That too, I guess, yeah. If you know how to get to 5 fingers, you're set.
Yeah.
5 Finger Rapids.
Yep. It's like the lazy river of French River.
The Five Finger Rapids, It's a bit of a poorly kept local secret, but it's a must-see spot. A convergence of the river breaks that forms the shape of an outstretched hand. It's where Ed showed me exactly why they use the boats they do. You wouldn't want to do that in a brand new Starcraft. Now that I'm a self-proclaimed fisherman, I pulled out a couple more fish. Then the girls showed me where to jump in and let the river take me right where I needed to go. And after all that, I guess I'll call myself a river rat too. To wrap up the day, we ended up back at the lodge for a barbecue dinner with the camp, and of course, the traditional plunge off the deck. The perfect way to cap off an incredible day on the French River. I get to drive the latest and greatest boats all summer long. But at some point out here, listening to nothing more than running water and the distant hum of outboard engines, in a place where everyone is family. Sitting in a lawn chair on a 20-year-old pontoon boat, it hit me. This is what boating is all about. No matter what kind of boat you're on, it's the journey that counts, not the destination. And I owe a huge thanks to the Cranes for helping me see that and having me up to such a magical place.